Hi, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. My name is Madeline. I'm the Events and Partner Manager at Wagento, and I will be on as a moderator for this webinar. So if you have any questions throughout, feel free to drop them in the QA box at the bottom of the screen, and we will answer them when we get to the Q&A time. So on this webinar, we have Brent Peterson from Wagento. He's the co-founder and Chief Magento Evangelist on our staff. And then we also have Mark from Cardknox, and he is the VP of Sales, and he's been with Cardknox for about 5 years. So we're really excited.
Hey Madeline, I'm also a very big Cardknox evangelist. Okay.
Also a really big Cardknox.
Yeah, huge. This is like live it, loving it.
Great, so we'll get started, and I'll just shut off my camera and let you guys go and interrupt when there's questions.
Yeah, just for some housekeeping notes as well, there is a chat box, and we would prefer that if you're going to ask questions, put the questions in the QA box. It's a lot easier to keep track of them. Sometimes the chat box can get going, and we'll miss some questions. So please put questions in the QA. And Madeline will do her best to give us questions. If they're relevant at the time, we will answer them during the presentation, but we would like to try to keep most of the questions to the end of the presentation. Yes, so as Madeline said, I'm the Chief Evangelist for Wagento. We are a solution integrator based in Minnesota, but we do have offices in Latin America, Mexico, Bolivia. We have one in the UK and in India, and we are actively working on Adobe Magento projects across the world.
So Brent, basically, other than Antarctica, you're pretty much, you have it covered, right?
Yes, that is correct. And I think next year we are looking at opening an office in Antarctica. I've heard there is a large contingent of people that would like to buy things. In fact, I know, Mark, that you wanted to throw out a joke, but I'm going to circumvent. I'm going to just jump in front, and I'm just going to ask, why are heavy penguins so popular at parties?
I don't know.
They know how to break the ice. Dum dum.
Brent, my kids would call that a dad joke.
You're very welcome.
That was an insult, by the way. But
thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, but I'm with you. I think there's a lot of Antarcticans that are definitely looking for payment solutions and definitely looking to buy things. So yeah, I'll throw out my quick stupid joke. Basically, it's just a payment joke. The joke basically is that apparently there's a country in Europe, place where us Americans are right now not welcome, but the country in Europe where people don't accept payments in cash, credit card, etc. Really country that makes me a little bit frustrated because credit card payments are a business. Bet you don't know the name of the country. The Czech Republic. All right, that was definitely a dad joke.
Yeah, I'm gonna say yours is better than mine.
Yeah, both in the dad joke category.
Yeah, good. All right, well, let's get moving here. So we are going to talk about payments. Our first topic up here is security, payment security, which, wow, I think there was a huge thing about Magento end of life and security around that. So Mark, why don't you dive right in, tell us a little bit about Cardknox and how that's going to help our e-commerce payment security. I know that we've got some great points here: preventing fraud, preventing customers' data from being intercepted from hackers. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So first of all, Brent, thank you for having me. Madeline, who's behind the scenes, thank you for moderating here on Cardknox as well. We have a bunch of, I like to joke, I have my executive producer in my ear. So we've got a good team behind us as well. So really appreciate you having us on. So just to start, as Madeline mentioned, I'm Mark Haley, VP of Sales at Cardknox. I really like how you said how Brent is a Wagento evangelist, and I think that describes me as well. I really love the promoting the Cardknox brand. People know me; they know me as the Cardknox guy at conferences. So what Cardknox is, we're a leading omni-channel payment gateway. We provide businesses in a wide variety of industries with advanced payment processing technology, securely process payments in store and online, and we try to make it seamless and fun, easy and fun. So just in terms of the partnership and kind of how Brent, the marriage that we have, so in the relationship that we have, so we have a plugin for Magento. Magento is an e-commerce platform, one of the most well-known e-commerce platforms in the industry, and we have our plugin for Magento allows it can be easily integrated with Magento Online Storefront to bring you access to Cardknox's advanced payment processing features, and then using the plugin allows you the ability to process a variety of payment methods directly from the Magento account, while enjoying competitive processing rates and advanced security features. But we'll definitely get into that later. So I know you want, we can get into data breaches. Was there anything you wanted to share just as far as Wagento, as far as the Magento component?
Sure, yeah. So Magento 2 has been out for a number of years now, almost 5 years, and we are well entrenched in that. But I think that there's a lot of people now that are moving over there because of the end of life, and a lot of these things are very pertinent to them right now. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how your solutions are going to help our customers in terms of when they want to move, or maybe they're already on Magento and they're not aware of some of these things, and how can they better protect themselves. And I think one of the things that we've learned in this whole PCI compliance, this whole thing that's come up around PCI compliance that started through the Magento end of life, is that the merchant really is responsible for their store. And no matter what platform you're on, if you're on BigCommerce, or if you're on Magento, or if you're on some custom platform, you are responsible for that PCI compliance. And at the end of the day, you are responsible for any data breaches that may happen. So I think having all the protection that you can have, and certainly looking at Cardknox and what they can help you do in terms of merchant and fighting fraud and things like that are really going to help out.
Agreed, and especially today in the COVID world. I'm not going to say post-COVID world. I don't think we're post-COVID yet, but definitely in the after with the advent of COVID, it's definitely been the need for an e-commerce solution has been much more prevalent, and obviously when that with that proliferation, that definitely opens things up to hackers, data breaches, even more than before. So I'm gonna just talk about just a basic overview, and you can see the slides here as well. But there's two components of an e-commerce fraud mitigation, and the first one is to secure customer data from the threat of data breaches. Okay, so you've got to make sure the data is secure, and the second is to use fraud screening and identity verification tools to prevent fraudsters from placing orders with stolen data. Okay, fraudsters are very prevalent today. They know this is the new hot place to be, and this webinar is going to focus really primarily on the former. Okay, how merchants can protect their customers' data and therefore stay PCI compliant. PCI is a council, but basically their goal is to ensure compliance with protecting customer data and to prevent against the data breaches that we're also nervous about. So to get started, I'll just give an overview of what data breaches are, how they occur. So what a data breach is when a fraudster obtains sensitive data. They break through a vulnerability in the organization's system or software. And the data is then used for fraudulent purposes, such as for identity theft or fraudulent transactions. I'm sure that we've all had some instances of fraud, of theft, of just some type of breach. And as an online merchant, sensitive payment data is being submitted through your website on a regular basis. So if you're making a purchase, you are going to be submitting sensitive data, your name, your address, and your credit card number, etc. Without the right tools in place, so your site could be at risk for a cyber attack that results in the leaking of sensitive data. And due to these inherent risks with payment processing, so the payment card industry requires merchants who handle card data, they have to adhere to the PCI's DSS, which stands for Data Security Standards. Okay, by staying compliant with these standards, not only will you avoid non-compliance fees, which can add up, but you'll greatly reduce the risk of a data breach. Okay. Any questions so far, or Brent, anything that you'd like to add?
No, I think that's fantastic. That's very helpful. I think, just thinking back on my years, I don't want to say I'm very old, but, I think even 15 years ago, looking back when people first started doing more and more of this online sales, that they can think that they may be compliant, or they can think that they are protecting themselves. But I can even think about merchants that, in order to just ease things along, they just put the credit card number of the client right in their customer record in their CRM, just so their staff can easily rerun credit cards if they needed to. So, I think that this should be all encompassing, and I think that some of the things that you're talking about now, and I think we're going to get into this presentation, are going to help our clients to be protected. And I think part of this too is just education around what that means as a client. And I know going into this next slide that you have around the rise of how fraud is really, it's only going to increase as more people are online, and as people figure out more things, that they work with a trusted company like Cardknox to be protected and to help them both protect their data, but also maybe use best practices. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and Brent, just not to date myself either, but I remember, I still have an AOL account. It's really where my spam, it's where my spam goes. But I still remember the dial up and the excitement of you got mail. It's like today, it's like, God almighty, will these people stop emailing me, right? But it's definitely, the world has evolved significantly since those days of AOL. And the prevalence of e-commerce security, we, even prior to COVID-19, the amount of e-commerce shopping versus brick and mortar has been incredible. Just the ratios have been incredible. We can talk about the rise of online fraud. Brent, do you want to walk through this slide? Do you want me to just do the first part?
Yeah, go. I think you should jump right in. I think that it is pretty, I think we've seen a lot of what can happen both online and at terminals, with Target and Home Depot and things like that. So it's not just a small merchant that gets what's called hacked. There's all kinds of different ways that people are trying to get at our information. So why don't you dive right in and.
Absolutely. So there's no question about it. It's incredible. If you're a small business, a mom and pop, and you're trying to take credit cards, there's no question that you're vulnerable, and that's why these PCI, the DSS standards were put in place, and there is this whole concept of PCI, and companies like ours basically try to ensure payment security. But yes, like you mentioned, even larger retailers, large companies have been definitely hit. Hotel chains, Home Depot, Target, just to name a few. So e-commerce security is incredibly important today. Online fraud and data breaches have been on the rise for several years. So since 2014, security breaches have grown by 67%. And between 2018 and 2019, So online fraud grew by, wait for it, actually you don't have to because it's on the slide. If you read and write English, you can see it there. It grew by 73% between 2018 and 2019. So that's really insane. I mean, just thinking about a growth level. I mean, like it's just unfathomable to think about a whopping 73%. So in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and we see these numbers, we see these metrics from the processing trends, et cetera. But the trends have obviously shifted to online tremendously, and the risk of fraud is getting even greater. More and more people are purchasing things online. In fact, e-commerce orders have grown by, wait for it, or you don't have to because we have the slide over there, 110% since last year. And due to this increase in online ordering, it's expected to increase by 10 to 15% this year, which, just to put in perspective, may not sound like a crazy number, but the economy grows in a normal time, not in recession type periods, but economy grows by, let's say 2-3%, right? Maybe in a really amazing economy, maybe 4, but 10 to 15% is just an absolute incredible number. There were earlier forecasts that 2020 would be better than 2019 in terms of online fraud, but obviously things have sped up, and e-commerce is definitely more prevalent, and that translates into more online fraud. So if you're wondering, why are data breaches and fraud so damaging for your business? Okay, what do you care, right? Brent, you mentioned taking a credit card, entering it into a CRM. I've seen people write down a credit card number, the CVV code, the 3 digits, the expiration, and they're in business, and they can rerun transactions. Very simple and easy, and makes everyone's life easy, which is completely non-compliant. But you may be wondering, okay, so why are data breaches and fraud so damaging for my business? So first of all, the exposure of your customers' data to bad actors can cost you money. So first of all, there's the almighty dollar, the bottom line, or Brent, I know you guys are in a bunch of countries, so maybe I shouldn't say the almighty dollar, although some of them do. So it could be the euro, it could be the yen, what have you. But it'll likely damage your reputation. And really, to me, reputation is everything. So it's not just about money. To me, reputation is actually worth more than money per se. Really, the reputation that you stand to lose is a very scary thing, and you need to make sure that your customers can trust you, because otherwise they won't return. And you may find sales revenue drops if you have these breaches. You're also going to be responsible for a bunch of costs, okay, to contain and respond to the breach: legal fees, regulatory fines, investigation costs, software installation, upgrades, and more. And then my favorite, the Mark Paley fee. No, I'm just kidding. That last one was totally made up. So now we have a better understanding of the negative consequences of data breaches. So I'll share some practical tips on how you can secure your storefront. So to start off, I'll bring an example that many of you are familiar with. Brent, you brought this up on the beginning. Recent Magento 1 end of life and the importance of keeping your software up to date. Okay, so the reason why Magento end of life poses a security concern for businesses is that since the software has been phased out, Magento is no longer providing security patches to protect known vulnerabilities for the software. Now, those of you who don't know what a patch is, just think about it like a patch on your clothing. And what that means is that any merchant who's still using Magento 1 is at risk for their data being hacked because of the lack of these security patches. It's also important to note the payment card industry, okay, requires merchants to update their software and protect against known vulnerabilities. Okay, think about it like a virus scan on your computer. It means that merchants who continue using Magento 1 are not going to be compliant with PCI DSS. Okay, we talked about that. We talked about DSS, PCI being the payment card industry standards and the standards that are required in order to maintain security. So besides for keeping your software up to date, one of the best things you can do, though, as an online business is to integrate your software with a secure and PCI compliant payment gateway. Okay, so that's where we come in, and that's why they pay me the big bucks. This will bring your online storefront an added layer of security, but without extensive hassle or effort. Okay, so basically an integrated solution working with a payment gateway. So you do not, so you're basically transferring the effort to us, transferring the risk and the liability to us. That's really where we come in. And the Cardknox payment gateway can be integrated with Magento through our plugin. Okay, and that's where Brent comes in and his team. And that's where we come in, and it's a match made in heaven. Our plugin, fully PCI compliant. Okay, it means we know what we're doing when it comes to credit cards. May not know much of anything else. Can't speak for the company. They do. I don't. But we do. One thing we do really, really well is payment security, and we use data tokenization to protect customer data. What is just explain tokenization? So I know personally I have not been to an amusement park or a rec center in, gosh, it's been way too long because of COVID. But back in the old days, the PC days, the pre-COVID days, we used to visit these things called amusement parks. Also used to visit restaurants and other fine attractions, right? And at these amusement parks, if we're playing, let's say, skee ball or what have you, we put a token. Well, first of all, we exchange our money, our dollars or our yen or our euros, right, for a token which then represents money. Okay, put it into the skee ball machine and watch our 13-year-old son beat the crap out of us, right? So that is what we do. We're essentially exchanging money for a token. Tokenization is the same thing. Basically what we're doing is we're exchanging a 16-digit credit card number for a 32-digit alphanumeric code, okay, which can then be used, reused, and reused as long as you have the authorization for multiple purchases and while still maintaining compliance. Okay, that is the concept of tokenization. What tokenization does is it makes PCI compliance that much easier. There's no writing down people's credit card numbers, personal information on your notepad, on a CRM, inside some Excel spreadsheet. I've seen all that crazy stuff. So basically what you're doing is the payment information is then tokenized, being sent to Cardknox for processing, and then it's de-tokenized in a secure environment. If I told you guys the level of detail that goes into maintaining our PCI in a compliant environment, you don't need to know how the sausage gets made, but let me tell you, it is pretty intensive. There's a lot of work. We go through audits, and it's a really big deal. So being experts in payment security really is something that we're able to do. And the goal is that the payment data is not touching your servers. Even if you wanted to hack that data, if you wanted to steal that data, you're not able to. So you don't have to worry about adhering to PCI requirements. It's one of the best things you can do to, integrating with, working with a partner like Brent to get a Magento solution, and working with an integrated solution like Cardknox is one of the best things you can do to prevent data breaches. One quick point, just to end off, putting everyone to sleep, is an important aspect of e-commerce fraud is preventing fraudulent orders from going through. So in addition to the credit card data, which we just mentioned, but also you want to make sure that hackers who are excited to be able to tap into your info cannot get your info. So when it comes to preventing fraud, Cardknox offers built-in fraud screening and identity verification technology. So basically, if there's a suspicious order, right, we see this all the time. If my grandmother is ordering something and she lives in Florida, right, and the order is coming from Minneapolis, probably Brent stealing her credit card. Am I right? Brent, you don't steal my.
No.
No, it's not Brent.
I think another good caveat on that as well is that token is only good between that merchant and Cardknox. So it's not like a regular 32-bit code that could be used on any other site. And they couldn't just take that 32-bit code and go down to 7-Eleven and get a Slurpee or a Big Gulp, right?
Absolutely, yes. That code's a unique handshake between our company and them. So absolutely, it definitely.
It is an extra level of security, and we think about when when clients save their credit card on their Netflix account or something like that, they're using a token. They're not just, that card information is not held in clear text, so somebody could theoretically break in and hack it. So the level of security is even higher, say with Cardknox, that token is only good between the merchant that the client goes to and and Cardknox, and even if that token is somehow intercepted, it couldn't be used anywhere else.
Yeah, so just going to your point, the Netflix example is a perfect example. So Netflix actually does not have your credit card information, even though you're entering it into Netflix, but they actually do not have that credit card data. So they may be able to recharge you on a monthly basis, which they definitely enjoy doing, but they do not have the ability to take your credit card and use it for anything else, because the only thing they have access to is that token. And again, that's our handshake between, as Cardknox being the payment gateway, we're providing that solution. So the merchant does not have access to that credit card. So yeah, I think there's a lot of, there's basically, the short of it is that just like you outsource many different parts of your life, outsourcing data security and payment security is really one of those things that you should be doing. And the partnership that we have with Magento is something that I think is unique in that it basically protects the merchants and ensures, prevents them from hacks, and can help protect against fraudulent transactions as well.
Yeah, and I think one thing that is that Cardknox does that a lot of other maybe card provider, payment provider wouldn't do is the fraud protection. Something that you would do more than some other services, right?
Absolutely. So that's actually a very unique product, and we have two different models for that. Just to elaborate on the concept, but basically, what we will do is we will give you instant verification. We'll either rate it on a scale of 1 to 5, and tell you whether or not we believe the order is fraudulent using a variety of data points, IP address, shopping patterns, etc. The payment companies know more about you than you think. Not the CIA or NSA, but still pretty good. And we're able to analyze and make this determinations as to whether or not we think it's a legit transaction. And then the next step, which is a product that you can choose to add or not, is insurance. So basically, if someone makes a $1,000 transaction, and we say that we will guarantee that transaction in the event of fraud. So if it does end up being fraud and you shipped it, we'll make you whole. We will give you back the $1,000 that you spent. So that's another nice product, a nice feature that is unique to Cardknox. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so I know that the next slide we have here is around Magento 1 end of life, and that was such a big topic 30 days ago. So I just want to just let people know that they should be moving to the next. They should make a plan to move on from Magento 1. However, there are some services that will help you in the interim. There's OpenMage, which is a fork of the original version of Magento that's being maintained and patches are being created. And then there's a commercial product called Mage One that does the same type of thing where they do bug bounties. But that's not to say that you shouldn't be planning to move on. I think that the key here on this end of life and PCI and data security is that anything you build, including Magento 2.0 now is already at end of life. You have to maintain that PCI compliance and that you are vulnerable no matter what you're on. Even if you're on the newest version of Magento, you have to be cognizant of what is out there in terms of security. And I think your best bet is to go with somebody like Cardknox to help you and to have that confidence behind you that you are going to get that like we talked about tokenization, so you're not sending clear text anywhere else, and you are also getting fraud protection, and I think that's fantastic, Mark. You mentioned about the insurance.
Yeah, but ultimately, Brent, I think it boils down to, you know, the industry is fast moving. Things are changing by leaps and bounds. Just in terms of data breaches, in terms of hacks, in terms of changes to Magento, and ultimately partnering with someone like yourself on the Magento side, partnering with a payment provider who has experience with data breaches and data security, ultimately is the best way to ensure and maintain proper payment security.
Great. You know, I think this is where we're going to geek out a little bit. Do you want to just talk a little bit about some of the ways? So can you just talk a little bit like iField's technology, the easy PCI compliance? This seems
Sure.
like, yeah, it's going to make our merchants' lives easier. That's what I'm getting out of that.
That's our goal. Our goal is to make, you know, our tagline, our motto, hashtag, making payments awesome. Payments are one of those things in life that you definitely need to have, but we definitely try to ensure that the experience is seamless and fun. So tokenization we talked about converting that 16-digit card into a 32-digit alphanumeric code. A lot of numbers there. The iField's technology, basically what that is that we allow you to create your website, create your platform, create your solution, and then essentially you are there's a field or an iField which stands in the back, and when you enter your credit card data, even though it looks like that box, that field is part of the website, it's actually not. And that field is completely PCI compliant. That information is being transmitted to Cardknox, and the merchant does not access it. So Brent, to go back to your example of Netflix, great example. Definitely a company that's tokenizing data, that is consistently billing, right, on a monthly basis, right? So Netflix would be the example of a company where they have their website, they have their payment solution built in, and they have all their infrastructure, but in the back end, they may be employing iField's technology, which is the website is here, and that little field, that little box with the credit card data is completely separate and is being transmitted to the payment solution. So that's where iFields comes in. Easy PCI compliance. So PCI compliance can be a pain. We do our best to try to make sure that it's simple and easy. We have an entire compliance team with a direct extension to the compliance team, and we actually incentivize our team to ensure that our merchants are compliant. So they can walk you through the PCI compliance process, they can answer any questions, and essentially they really make it a breeze just by calling that number or sending them a direct email. They will walk you through and ensure your PCI compliant. So we really try our best to make it a one-stop shop, seamless solution.
That's great. Yeah, I think too, when you mentioned how Netflix is doing it, and this really levels a playing field between the big merchants and the small merchants. They also have this level of security, whether you're in Fargo, North Dakota, or New York City, or you're a small one-person shop, or you're a 1,000-person shop. This gives you that level of security that would protect your data.
Agreed. It really, yes, agreed. It really does. And actually, I think the whole online world has done a lot to level the playing field, to allow mom and pop shops to compete globally or nationally, right, on the domestic scene and sell to a customer in Fargo, North Dakota. So yeah, it definitely does allow that. 100%.
Great. Well, should we move on to some Q&A here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Madeline, are there any questions from anybody yet on the Q&A? And I guess just to cue everybody in, there is a QA box at the bottom of your screen, so we would just like you to put any questions you have in there, and yeah, that'd be fantastic. Well, I see one that just came in. Not as a merchant, but as the client using a site, how do I know? How can I look at that site to make sure that it's secure?
So typically you're going to have actually the PCI logo, and that's going to actually show that they are PCI compliant. And as long as you see that and that they're using a recognized provider, then that would give you that sense of security.
Great. Another question here from Charlie. How are you supporting M1?
So right now what we're doing is we're definitely working with within the existing infrastructure. It is end of life, but people can still use it. And we are, as of now, we are ensuring compliance with the, with PCI. Obviously, we'll be sending out updates if as things evolve and as things change. But yeah, we're supporting it as of now, and as the situation evolves, we will advise accordingly.
Yeah, Mark, I mean, I think too that people have to be aware that if you wrote your platform custom, that you still have to be PCI compliant. And if somebody were to use your payment gateway by using their APIs, their site would still have to be PCI compliant no matter what platform you're on.
Yeah, there's no question about it. There's no getting around PCI compliance. And if you're not PCI compliant, you are seriously putting yourself, your reputation at risk. So there's no question about that. Again, if you're using Magento 1, continue to be in touch with your payment provider. Continue to work with your software provider, and they'll provide updates as the situation evolves. But listen, it's a moving target. The one thing I can tell you about the payment space is there's always something. One thing Cardknox prides itself on is being 6 to 18 months of the next shoe to drop and the next big thing. Back in 2015, it was EMV. Today, it could be validated P2PE or 3D Secure. There's a new version of that. But there's different. There's so many different things that we have to stay abreast of, and we really have. We have an entire PCI compliance team, and that's their job. So give it to the experts; they'll handle it. They'll assist.
Question here from Andy about B2B. Is there any special cases if you know your client and they're just continually charging? Is there a difference between B2B and B2C in the credit card world?
So, from a payment security standpoint, you're not going to have any difference between B2B and B2C. Payment security is payment security, and the requirement is going to remain the same. In terms of knowing your client, that doesn't change the fact. I mean, you could say, well, I know this person and I'll put their credit card number down on a piece of paper and shred it afterwards. Not good, not best practices, not PCI compliant, not okay. It doesn't matter who they are. It could be your mother, your brother, your sister. Doesn't matter. We don't do it. So you definitely have to ensure compliance. When it comes to fraud, so Brent, we mentioned the example before of, and this is very common among senior citizens, is that their credit card data gets stolen, and people ship something. The person is located, let's say, in Florida, and the items getting shipped to some PO box in Wyoming. So that's something that you have to be alerted to. So even if you see the credit card, oh, I know this guy, right? John Smith. I've been working with John for 40 years, right? But with that said, if he's shipping it to Fargo, North Dakota now, it's something we should be cognizant of. And you have to make sure that you cross your T's and dot your I's, even if you know the person.
Yeah, that's great. All right, I don't see any more questions coming in right now. But do you have anything that you'd kind of like to leave us with as best practice around card security, and especially I think for merchants that that are looking for something a little bit more secure than their typical gateway that they've been using?
Absolutely. So a couple things. So first of all, I believe this webinar is going to be posted online. So definitely people can reach out with questions. Our info is there. So if anyone has any questions, they can definitely get in touch with us about that. But ultimately, I think what we've covered and encapsulated is the fact that payment security is difficult. Payment security can leave you vulnerable to breaches, which can cost significant amounts of money. It can also dramatically affect your reputation. And therefore, you have to employ the experts. You wouldn't get a lousy plumber or unlicensed plumber to do something. You wouldn't get an unlicensed person to do your taxes, right? You got to trust the payment experts, especially when you're dealing with thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, as well as or millions of dollars, as well as reputation. So trust the experts. Work with companies like Wagento and Cardknox, who have a great partnership, have a great relationship, and they're able to ensure that your payments are secure.
That's great. And I think you work with other platforms. I mean, you're not exclusively just a Magento, and not to plug other, we're all in a big world of e-commerce. Just kind of tell us some of the other platforms that you work with.
Sure. So first of all, Cardknox, like when I mentioned at the beginning, Cardknox is an omni-channel payment gateway. So omni-channel is both retail and card not present. Yes, we definitely are very heavy in the retail space, working with many ISVs across the US and globally. But we also work with Magento, with WooCommerce, with BigCommerce. We have plugins for many of those platforms. We have a NetSuite plugin. So there's many different venues that Cardknox presents itself. So, but there's no question about it on this webinar. The number one is my friend Brent and the Wagento team. So.
That's great. Yeah. So I think one just little practical application that I have for how people think they can use, or how people can use Cardknox, would be if you do have, say, if you have subscriptions, and I know there's a lot of modules out there that do subscriptions. Cardknox will ensure that you've tokenized that data for your client, and that client can then go back and feel good that their data is secure, in the sense that they're getting their subscription every month. So Magento does subscriptions similar to Netflix. I mean, you're not going to stream your favorite TV show off of Magento, but you could get your next box of whatever they do now, makeup boxes or
coffee, wine.
Yeah, a wine box. That's what I need right now, or a beer box. And that every month you're getting your new box of things, and that token is being recharged, that your merchant who you're getting that box of beer from or case of beer from is not rerunning your actual 16-digit code manually over and over again. That subscription is being held, like you said earlier, in a token, and that data is being passed, and it's encrypted, and that it can't be just brought down to get that Slurpee at, is it a Slurpee at 7-Eleven? I think, no, it's a Big Gulp. Sorry.
No, it's I think the Big Gulp is for soda, and the Slurpee is for their icy drinks. But,
yeah, okay. Thank you. You're in New Jersey, so that's probably very common, right?
Listen, I live vicariously through my kids. It's been a while since I've had a Slurpee, but yeah, my kids are very into Slurpees. 100%.
Good.
And they gotta have the 14, and they gotta have the 14 flavors. A little bit of this one, a little bit of this one. They make a mix, and at the end, it basically tastes like frozen sugar and a crap ton of chemicals.
You gotta love frozen sugar with a crap ton of chemicals.
Yeah, it's great. It's really great for you.
All right, good. Well, I think that's no more questions, and I think we can wrap it up. I really appreciate it. It's been great having you here, and we will be posting this in its entirety, including the dad jokes. And I guess what we should have done is a poll to see who had the best joke, yours or mine. I feel as though yours is much more relevant than mine, although you did bring in my joke with Antarctica. So I think that would give me some extra points, but I think in terms of relevance, your joke was much better.
Brent, I think the one thing that the joke showed, I think from a content standpoint, we knocked it out of the park, but I think from a joke standpoint, I can confidently say for both of us, we should not quit our day jobs.
Yeah, are you saying that we're not going to have some hit show that's out of New York where you just say yada yada yada, something like that?
No. I'm pretty sure that we have no future to make the next Seinfeld. But
coffee in a car with Mark and Brent is not going to happen. That's what I hear.
Listen, you're great at what you do. We're great at what we do as well, and I think we definitely conveyed that to the audience. So I think they definitely got value with the dad jokes notwithstanding.
All right, great. Thanks a lot. I appreciate it, and everybody have a great day.
Thanks, Brent.
Yep,
Take
bye-bye.
care.